check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY. ESPN. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. Coach Herm Edwards will be on the show with us. Our resident handicapper based out of Vegas, the one and only R.J. Bell, will be on the line with us to handicap Week 13 of the NFL season, Vegas style. There's some stuff to get into in regards to that. The LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers on a 10-game winning streak. You got a lot of people blustering about how they're a legitimate big-time threat to the Golden State Warriors. That's something that we can get into as the show progresses. I've got NFL on my mind. And it ain't just week 13 of the NFL season with the premier games like Philadelphia visiting Seattle, like Carolina going to New Orleans, and so on and so forth. Got the Rams playing, got the Chargers playing. I know all of that. Got the Jets playing. I know all of that. Got Eli Manning watching on the sidelines as Geno Smith takes his job. I know all of that. All of these things are things that have been labored and discussed and will be discussed. Obviously, we have to start off in an appropriate fashion. Dallas Cowboys won a game. Bravo. I mean, come on. I mean, listen to Jerry Jones. I mean, did you hear Jerry Jones talking about Dak Prescott after the game? Valor, just tremendous valor and talking about his valiant performance. Ladies and gentlemen, he was 11 for 22 for 102 yards. Yes, he threw for 2 touchdowns. That touchdown catch by Des Bryant, his first in like the last 14 games, was a tremendous touchdown catch. Bravo to Des Bryant, too. Welcome to the party. But, I mean, how valiant is it to hand the ball off 37 times? Because that's what he did. Morris ran the ball 27 times for 127 yards. Robert Smith ran the ball 10 times for 27 yards. Prescott himself ran it 5 times. Hand the ball over 37 times. I said Rod. I said Robert. I meant Rod. In terms of the running back. But let me say this. You know what the real story here is, right? Chocolate City, the nation's capital. I'm not sold on its quarterback, and I damn sure ain't sold on its coach. I know there's a penchant to be kind. I mean, when you got the great John Gruden as the voice of ESPN for Monday Night Football, he got a sibling we want to be respectful. I'd want somebody to be respectful to my family member. I'm sure he would want it for his brother. Fair enough. I don't know about Jay Gruden. Is that cruel to say? I don't think so. I'm not being derogatory. I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm not sold. I'm not feeling this man. The Redskins are 5-7 on this season. They're done. It's over. You got guys that can't catch the ball. You got P. Ryan that couldn't get anything done yesterday. You don't have a running attack. You don't have guys that can catch. You damn near got guys that can't block. I know you've been saddled with injuries. I get it. I understand. But somehow, some way, there's always an excuse with these guys. I'm talking about the Washington Redskins. And I'm just not feeling them. And you do get to a point where you got to wonder. You got to wonder whether the right coach is there. You got to wonder whether the right quarterback is there. That's right, I said it. let's be honest about something here. And I've used this analogy, and I'll use it for y'all right now. We can look at Jay Gruden, whose record is 26-33 as a head football coach in the National Football League. This is going to be his 4th year. 4 complete years. It'll be 1 playoff appearance. That's it. And that year they were 9-7. So he's 26-33-1. He's won 44% of his games as a head football coach. When do we start asking questions about him? Because if you look at Kirk Cousins, you know people are going to rave about him, right? You know they're going to walk around talking about, well, Kirk Cousins can really, really play. I mean, Stephen A., what are you talking about? I mean, what's the matter with you, Stephen A.? I mean, come on. Will you get it together, please? Yeah, they're 5-7, but that's not his fault. I mean, you're talking about Kirk Cousins here. You're talking about a guy that's completing better than 66% of his passes. That's what you're talking about. They've got the 12th ranked passing attack. Yeah, that could be better, but that's not his fault. He's Kirk Cousins. 66.6% of his passes completed. 3,289 yards passing thus far. 21 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions. 99 quarterback rating. Yeah, the QBR, Stephen A. It could be better than 55, but that's not his fault, Stephen A. Oh, shut up. Let me tell you something about Kirk Cousins. Mr. Franchise Quarterback. Mr. $24 million man in back-to-back seasons. This brother has made guaranteed over $48 million in 2 years. And the Redskins don't have a damn playoff game to show for. I didn't even say a playoff win. I said a playoff game. They don't have a playoff game to show for it. Not last year and damn sure not this year. Here's Kirk Cousins. This is my thing, Kirk Cousins, and I challenge anybody out there, anybody that knows anything about football, I challenge anybody to disagree with me on this. Kirk Cousins, is he not that dude that'll sit up there, he'll throw for 350 yards. He'll complete more than 65% of his passes. He'll get you a couple of touchdowns, too. Somehow, some way, he'll keep you close. And then when it really, really counts, you're up 4 on the Washington Redskins. Kirk Cousins, he could have Jordan Reed available. He could have Crowder available. He could have Doxson available, all right? He could have whatever you need. He could have whatever you need. But Kirk Cousins is that guy that'll sit up there, first down, 80 yards to go, 20-yard line, 3 minutes left in the game, you're down 4. Kirk Cousins will complete 4 or 5 beautiful passes. Get you down to about the 15 or the 10-yard line and then throw a damn interception. That is just what he does. That's what I see. I'm not saying he's a scrub. He's not a scrub. He's a damn good quarterback in terms of ability. But that it factor, that special commodity that only those guys with the it factor have, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I never have with this guy. I never have. Washington Redskins are a flagrant disappointment. Yeah, injuries were an excuse this year. What was it last year? What was it last year? There's just always something with them. And if you're Jerry Jones, you don't mind because you beat up on them last night. Dak Prescott, Alfred Morris running the ball, touchdown, catch to Dez Bryant, Cole Beasley and the crew trying to get loose. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys won a game with Jason Witten catching just 1 pass for 8 yards. Somehow, some way, they got it done. And Jerry Jones, here he is stealing headlines. Why? You know why? Because he's saying, quote, very, very pleased with what we saw. Valiant effort, blah, 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 blah. Really? You played the Redskins. Dallas still stinks without Ezekiel Elliott. He came into last night's game, getting outscored 92-22 in the previous 3 games. Didn't even score in double digits. And then he ran into the Redskins. And it looked like the skies opened and heaven had arrived. I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised. 866-729-3776. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. a piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Listen, I'm looking at some of these games this weekend, and I mean, it's a lot of good ones, man. It's a lot of good ones to get into. You got Minnesota at Atlanta. That's going to be a good game. I mean, we're going to find out what Atlanta's made of because we know this Minnesota defense is no joke. I'm paying attention to that. Buffalo and New England, not so much, but I guess, Buffalo, now that Tyrod Taylor's back in the mix and the game is in Buffalo, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Then you got Kansas City and the Jets. Mahomes, is he going to be in the lineup? Is Alex Smith finally going to get benched? The way Kansas City's offense has been looking, even though their problems are on defense, too, particularly since Eric Berry's been out. And, you got a whole bunch of problems with Kansas City right now. I mean, I'm just looking at it. Chargers, that's another win coming up because they've got Cleveland coming into the house. I mean, that's another win. Chargers might win the AFC West. And if you're Cleveland, Hugh Jackson, 1-26 as head coach for the Cleveland Browns. My condolences. Carolina's a big game at New Orleans. The Rams playing against Arizona. Let's see what happens on that road game. The Giants, Geno Smith is starting ahead of Eli. Sunday Night Football, can't wait. Philadelphia versus Seattle. There's a lot of stuff to look at here. No question about it. And, of course, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Monday night. Let's get to the phones. 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to JP in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, JP?
You see, Stephen A., that's why I respect you. I have a lot of respect for you. You don't run away from the tough question. Yes, Stephen. Now, Stephen, tell me, what is this Geno Smith issue about? Why did we bring him to New York? Is it to be a backup quarterback, or is this about Colin Kaepernick? We didn't want to address the Colin Kaepernick issue, so you know what? Let's hurry up, bring anybody in. Don't worry. We're going to the Super Bowl. We don't have to worry about Geno Smith starting anyway. Tell me, now Geno Smith is starting. Everybody and their mother have a comment about this man. It's horrible. It's horrible the way we're treating him. He has a family. He has a girlfriend. He has friends who respect him.
Stop, JP, stop right there. First of all, you just talked about Geno Smith has a family, right? Is that what you're saying?
Just like Eli Manning. Just like you said, he has a sibling. You just said that. I
didn't say anything about Eli. I didn't say anything about Eli Manning's family. I don't.
No. You didn't say that.
Okay.
Earlier, I was listening to the show.
Let me say this. I want to make sure I'm following you because you piqued my interest here, JP. You're saying that the New York Giants went out and brought on Geno Smith to quell the momentum for Colin Kaepernick potentially getting a backup job with the Giants. Correct?
Now the owner
let me say this to you. I don't know if you're correct. Here's why. If the Giants had never commented on it, JP, you'd have something there because it'd be a bit slick and inexplicable. The problem with your explanation is that Mara did come out and acknowledge that he had never seen the vitriol via emails and phone messages left to the New York Giants than he saw at the notion of bringing on Colin Kaepernick. So this was a man who confessed on behalf of the organization publicly that there were people who said they would turn away from the New York Giants as an organization if Colin Kaepernick was brought on. So I think your argument would have more potency if Mara never publicly acknowledged that. But because he did, he didn't have to go out and sign Geno Smith for that reason, because he had already made it clear we weren't going to bring Kaepernick on because the people were against him.
Well, Stephen A., you have a responsibility to point that out to people who don't understand what's really going on. Okay, we bringing on Geno Smith, we bringing him up, nobody should have nothing to say about this because we brought him here to be a backup quarterback. He won the position. He's the most qualified person to, come and play this weekend. Right now, Eli Manning, I don't understand why people are upset. Look what the Dallas Cowgirls did to,
Well, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop. Don't make this into a bigger issue than what it is. Here's what it comes down to. We've seen Geno Smith, albeit in a Jets uniform instead of the Giants. We've seen him in this city at that stadium disappoint grotesquely. I don't believe this is an issue if Davis Webb is the quarterback. I think the issue is that you benched Eli Manning for Geno. If it were for anybody else, somebody that you wanted to see would have an opportunity to be the quarterback of the future for this franchise, I don't think you would get any resistance. I think the resistance emanates from the fact that Geno is the option that folks are leaning on because let's face reality, fair or unfair, JP, nobody has faith in Geno in New York. Not in New York. Anywhere else, fine. But in New York City, you're not going to find people that have support for Geno.
You making my point, Stephen A. You making my point.
Hurry up, because I got to get to other callers. Make your point real quick. Go ahead.
They bought Geno Smith only to quiet down the noise about Colin Kaepernick. And that's wrong.
Got it. I understand. I don't think that's correct, and I don't think we can prove that because they didn't have to do that because they openly admitted that they were not going to bring on Colin Kaepernick because of the vitriol aimed in his direction. They thought it was bad for business, and unlike the other organizations, the Giants actually admitted it. So I don't think they had that to worry about. But I get your point, and I respect it. Let's go to Paul. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Paul?
How you doing, Stephen A.? I'm glad you took my call. Straight to the point. Kirk Cousins and Gruden has to go. I mean, I don't know where we're going to go from there, but they have to go. They're not clicking. Kirk's not growing. Basically what you said the other day, he's just a win a game, lose a game quarterback, and I shouldn't even watch the game like you said yesterday. But bring in Eli Manning, put some pieces around him, get another coach. You get Eli going, Eli still can play. And that's just my opinion.
Well, we could say Eli play, but there are a lot of people that have seen him in practice. There are a lot of people that watch him during games. They say he's not the same quarterback. My point is that, listen, for those out there that want to be ultra-sensitive to Geno Smith, I have nothing against Geno Smith. I don't know the man from a can of paint. I've met him a few times. I wish him nothing but the best. I didn't think he needed to drop as low as he dropped when he came out of West Virginia. But I do believe that in the city of New York, this city has every right not to have any faith in him, because they've seen him enough with the New York Jets. And by the way, that IK Impala altercation that ultimately left him with a broken jaw and derailed the season because it led to him losing his starting job to Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith has nobody to blame for that but himself. Yep. So when I saw Josina Anderson, our NFL reporter, come into his defense talking about it's not fair, give him a chance, et cetera, because in Impala, a situation derailed him. Well, whose fault was that? You owe the brother $600. You gonna get in the face of a 250-pound linebacker that you owe money to and gonna say, like, what you gonna do about it? What the hell you think is gonna happen? You see what I'm saying, Paul?
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
We'll take Geno Smith. He can come down to D.C. Right now, we'll take anybody.
You don't mean that. You can't. Listen.
Can't do it, man.
I'm not sold on Kirk Cousins like that either. But you can't tell me you think Geno Smith would be a better option than Kirk Cousins. You're going too far. You're going too far, Paul. Come on now.
Come on now, reel it back. Last night, because that was the worst Redskins football I've ever seen.
But it wasn't Geno's fault. The receivers was dropping passes last night. Was dropping passes.
Sure. Yeah. Well.
All right. I appreciate it, though.
Need to learn to make adjustments, too.
I got it. I got it. It's hard for him to make adjustments. In fairness to him, Jordan Reed's out last night, hamstring injury. Trent Williams was, he came into the game questionable. You had some problems, man. You had some problems.
Thomas out. Yeah.
Thompson's
right,
out.
You,
yeah.
Appreciate
Take it easy, man. 866-SAY-ESPN. More of your phone calls in a minute. And Herm Edwards coming up as well. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. NFL analyst extraordinaire, former head coach for the New York Jets and the Kansas City Chiefs, the one and only Coach Herm Edwards is with yours truly right now. What's up, Coach? How are you, sir?
We're good, and you know what? I watched you today on First Take, obviously, and I knew the Cowboy thing was going to come up because all those Cowboy fans are hollering and screaming.
Ain't that something? Ain't that something? 6-6, and they raving about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott valor, Coach. That's the word Max Kellerman used, valor, because he completed 11 of 22 passes for 102 yards after hurting his hand. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. There's always something with the Cowboys. But what did you think about what you saw from them last night?
Well, Stephen A., they played to their strength, and their strength is their offensive line, and they were intact last night for the most part. And, when you run it 42 times and you're consistent with it, you're going to control the game, and they did. They controlled the game for 32 minutes, ran for 180-plus yards. Morris ran for 4.7, and that protects their defense. They got some turnovers. The defense came alive there at the end, and with some sacks, and so they got a big punt return. So this was a must-win for both teams, and Dallas found a way to win a game that a lot of people picked Washington to win.
Coach, I'm not saying that the loss was the Redskins' fault. I mean, the loss was Kirk Cousins' fault. Please don't get me wrong. I saw receivers dropping passes. I saw other guys that just seemed ill-prepared to play. But I use this analogy explaining to Max Kellerman. When you're looking at Kirk Cousins, he's the kind of guy that'll keep you in the game. He'll complete a decent percent, a good percentage of passes, 66, 67% of his passes. He'll get to 275 to 350 yards passing. He'll throw for a couple of touchdowns, right? He'll put some points up, Coach.
Yep.
But then you're down. You're down 4. You need a touchdown to win the game. He's got 80 yards to go with 2 to 3 minutes left. He'll drive you 70 yards and throw an interception. That's how I view Kirk Cousins. How do you view Kirk Cousins?
Well, you're right. I mean, he his career has been marred with some situations where you could have had a different opinion about him, or you keep the same opinion about him. And you're right. I mean, in big moments, this is when the elite guys make the big plays. I mean, that kind of separates everyone. He's a good quarterback, solid quarterback, but at times when he seems like he should close the game out or win the game, at times he falls short. And when you do that, that's the conversation about the guy.
We're talking to Herm Edwards right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I'm seeing a couple of games that I'm interested in looking at this weekend. Minnesota, Atlanta.
Yes.
I'm looking at New England and Buffalo. We can't ignore that game. Of course, Kansas City is interesting because even though they're playing the New York Jets who are 4-7, you're kind of wondering whether or not this is going to be the last time we see Alex Smith before a move to Mahomes is made. The list just goes on and on. What game is standing out in your mind, Coach?
Well, I like that the NFC South. Because it's going to be interesting when you think about Carolina, the Saints, and the Atlanta Falcons. Nice. All these teams are really in position to win 10 games.
And Carolina's playing the Saints. They're playing in New Orleans this weekend.
Yes. So this division is kind of one of those divisions where you're going, are 3 teams coming out of this division? Because they're all pretty good, and they got some tough games. And you make the point. The Saints, play Carolina at home, and this is a big game for Carolina. Atlanta has to play the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, you got to win now. You can't lose because you're running out of games.
Is Carolina better than they were this year than they were last year, or is it just that their defense is just that formidable?
Their defense is that formidable, but Cam is playing better because he's gotten back to playing like Cam. He's inconsistent still. I agree with that. He's inconsistent passing it at times. But McCaffrey has helped him. He's using his legs more. He's taking the game over. And I think they finally said, look, we got to let him be him. Because if we ask him to drop back and, not use his legs, that's not his strength. And so he's kind of put the team on his back. And when he plays good, Stephen A., they're going to have a chance to win now.
We're Talking to Herm Edwards right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. You know, I had a lot of faith in the Saints. I still do to some degree because they got Drew Brees, one of the great quarterbacks, a future Hall of Famer. But I didn't like what I saw against the Rams last week. Kamara is big time, no doubt. And that running game with him and Ingram is definitely formidable. You would think a squad with Drew Brees as your quarterback with a running game like that would have handled their business a little bit better in Los Angeles last weekend against the Rams. That did not happen. Why not, Coach?
Because the Rams are a good team. And we don't want to say that because what happened to them last year, they had the quarterback that a lot of people felt after last season, what's wrong with this guy? Todd Gurley didn't run well. They've done a nice job there. They came in and brought some new offensive linemen in, a couple guys brought center and Whitmore in as a tackle. Quarterback all of a sudden is playing a lot better. Their defense is got some guys over there, as we know. Aaron Donald is the best three technique in the league. And so they played a good team. You know, this was a Ram team that just got beat on the road in Minnesota. So they had something to prove, too. Look, the Saints have been on, a 7-8 game winning streak? It was time for them to lose a game eventually, and they lost a game against a good team, by the way.
You know, it's interesting because you talk about the Rams, and the Rams are pretty good. But if you had to pick a quarterback between Carson Wentz and Jared Goff this year, who would it be?
Oh, it'd be Carson Wentz.
Yes. Is it that easy to make that call? Is what I'm asking.
For me, yeah. He's a big man, Stephen A. He's 6'5", 235, 240, athletic. I mean, he's a big guy, good arm. You know, I would take him, no doubt.
Let's transition to the AFC, Coach, before we get on. Actually, I'm going to stay in the NFC for a quick second because I want to get your feelings about what transpired with Eli Manning, the Giants' decision to bench Eli Manning in favor of Geno Smith. Listen, Eli Manning clearly has not looked good. There is no doubt about that. He's regressed in recent memory. You have a lot of people saying that, but no offensive line, no running game, receivers getting hurt. That has something to do with it too. What did you think about what the Giants did, and just as important, how they handled it?
Well, I don't think they handled it very well at all. You're talking about a guy that's played 210 games. He's lined up every week for them. He has been the face of this franchise through the good times, through the bad times. And there's a rule of thumb that I live by. You treat everyone fair, but you don't treat everyone the same. He goes in the category, you don't treat him the same. He needs to go out the way he wants to go out. And that's the conversation you have with him. You can say, hey, Eli, look, we're trying to look at other quarterbacks, but this is what we want to do. Are you okay with that? And if he says, no, Coach, I want to finish this thing out. I know we're 2-9, but I'm still trying to win a football game for the New York Giants. If you're the head coach, you just go, okay, Eli, I got it.
So, in other words, you're saying leave him in no matter what. He's earned that, and you leave him in. What?
Yeah. If he's struggling, Stephen A., and it's a game where you're blowing people out, or you're getting blown out in the fourth quarter, you bring those guys in there. Sure. But he's the guy. He's your guy.
Herm Edwards right
here
with
Stephen A. He goes out on his terms. Stephen A., he gets to go out on his terms.
I will say this. I don't have a problem. If the Giants had come to Eli Manning and said, look, Davis Webb, we need to see what he's got. We need to use these last few games to see what he's got, Eli. That's why we're benching you, just because we want to find out what this guy has. Okay? That's different. The problem is that they didn't do that. They sat up there and said, we need you to sit down because we want to put in a guy that New York has seen more than enough of to know that he's not the future of this franchise. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, and the next thing, too, Stephen A., you make a point there, but here's the other point that I think we fail to realize. When you look at this situation, it's real simple. If he was struggling in a game, and we've seen this happen to Tom Brady, okay, he got taken out of the game. I remember when in Kansas City 2 years ago, they said it was the demise, or it was 3 years ago, whatever it was the demise of Tom Brady. He's done. And Coach took him out of the game, and the next week they asked him and said, well, is Tom Brady no longer the starter? And he said, no, Tom Brady's the starter. So he's playing bad. He's taking him out of the game.
Let's transition to the AFC real quick, Coach. We all know that New England's the class of the AFC. Have the Steelers inched closer to being able to knock them off, or is it the same old based on what we've seen in the past?
They've inched closer. They're an emotional team. They're a young team. And sometimes they're a very talented team. And they go in the game sometimes not all the way focused in. And I think that's where Mike sometimes struggles with these guys. is that, hey, look, we should play to a certain standard. We shouldn't play below that standard. And sometimes it's hard for these guys to do that. And they catch themselves in games when they're doing that. But here, they're talented enough to get out of it because they got so much talent, especially on offense. And that's what they kind of do. It gets close at the end, and they go, okay, we can win this. Rather than, hey, man, let's just finish the game. Let's just knock these guys out of the way. Let's handle our business. But they are built to play the Patriots, especially on defense. They're built to do that now.
Often people ask who's the biggest threat to the Patriots, and folks say the Steelers. Well, here's a different question. Who's the biggest threat to the Patriots and the Steelers in the AFC?
Oh, in the AFC. Defensively, but the problem is this, though, they have no offense. It's Jacksonville, defensively. Right. But they can't score enough points. They can keep it a low-scoring game and control the game and the clock. They got a chance because they're so dominant on defense. Right. They are a dominant defense. It ain't even close.
Coach, before I let you get on out of here, obviously we wanted to have you on here. Nothing's final, nothing's finite, nothing's definitive or whatever, but it is quite possible that this may very well be the last day that I'm interviewing you as an NFL analyst for ESPN, because you may be becoming a college football head coach. I mean, is there anything that you can tell us? I mean, listen, first of all, I want to know the consideration alone. You got to be happy about it. I'm happy for you if you're happy. I want to know what you can tell us. I want to know how you're feeling.
Well, obviously an opportunity, and I've had a lot of opportunities. You know that. We've talked about that before. This is kind of a unique one. And, you got to look at it. There's no doubt about it. And I'm going to have a conversation, and this weekend I'll know. But regardless of what happens, I am always going to be available for your show. You know that.
I know that, Coach.
Because we that way. You know that, my friend.
Well, listen, as long as it makes you happy, I'm happy for you. If this is the last time that I'm interviewing you as an NFL analyst for ESPN because you're the new head football coach at Arizona State, I want to be the first to say congratulations. They don't even know what kind of a man they're getting. I know you're a hell of a football coach, but you're an even better person. I love you dearly, and I'm wishing you nothing but the best for you and your family. Whatever makes you happy, I'm happy for you.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate those kind words, and I'll be talking to you. You know that.
Absolutely. Take it easy, Coach. We'll talk soon. One and only Coach Herm Edwards right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. That was Coach Herm Edwards. I said NFL analyst for ESPN. We don't know what we'll be calling him this time next week. We'll see. Whatever it is, he'll deserve it. Y'all have no idea what a great, great man that man is. You really, really don't understand. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Coming at you in a minute.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
49 minutes past hour number 1 back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. R.J. Bell, resident handicapper based out of Vegas. He'll be on the show with us, founder for pregame.com. He'll be on the show with us in hour number 2. Thanks again to Herm Edwards, Coach Herm Edwards, NFL analyst for ESPN. Hopefully soon to be head coach for the at Arizona State University. We'll see what happens over the weekend after he speaks to them. We'll be interested. We'll be following that as well. No question about it. Congratulations to him just for the strong consideration. On another note, before I get to the phones, Jimbo Fisher has resigned as head coach at Florida State. He is leaving Florida State to take on Texas A&M. Now, I want to state this very, very clearly. I'm a fan of Jimbo Fisher. Won a national championship in 2013, 14-0. Jameis Winston was his quarterback. Lost the very next year in the national semifinals, playoffs against Oregon when Mariota and the Oregon Ducks blew out Florida State at Pasadena. I was at that game. They were 13 and won that game. Last 2 seasons, he was 10-3, losing the Peach Bowl and winning the Orange Bowl last year. Both 10-3 seasons. This year, obviously, they've nosedived. They're 5-6. He's leaving. One of my boys, Champ, he said up there, he ain't done much since Jameis Winston left. I don't find 10-3 seasons to be that bad, but I understand the standard is the standard. And I'm alarmed, increasingly alarmed, because Jimbo Fisher's going to be the new head coach at Texas A&M, succeeding Kevin Sumlin. I applaud Jimbo Fisher's willingness to enter the SEC and compete against Nick Saban. I like that. Because I think a lot of coaches run from Nick Saban. Having said all of that, I notice that we got a whole bunch of college football job openings, and none of them are being filled by African-American coaches. None of them. Now, you got all these black students who are also student athletes in college football. And don't tell me we don't see a bunch of college football coaches who happen to be African Americans on various sidelines. None of them can be a head coach. None. You can't find one? If you all want people to stop bringing up words like racism and white privilege and so on and so forth, there's an easy resolution to everything. Fairness. Fairness. Can't find a black coach to interview for the Tennessee job? Got rid of the athletic director because he botched that whole situation. I'm just wondering. It's college football. It's student athletes. It's an institution of higher learning where we want to impart wisdom via tutelage and counseling and mentoring to young men. And each and every single time, not every single time, but most times, we have an opportunity to do the right things, particularly on a collegiate level. They dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. Far be it for me to want to see black men leading younger black men from time to time. I guess that's a criminal thought on my part, isn't it? I guess so, huh? 866-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.